This is the video lesson for wave behaviors, constructive and destructive interference. The learning target for this lesson is, I can investigate the behaviors of waves when they interact with each other. The success criteria for this lesson are, I can define constructive and destructive interference, I can recognize the conditions where constructive and destructive interference arise, and I can predict how waves will interact based on their phases relative to each other. So what is interference? So waves can interact with each other, and that is called interference. So there's two main types of interference, constructive and destructive interference. And we're going to look at both and how they occur. So here we can see two pendulums swinging back and forth. And these pendulums are perfectly in phase with each other, meaning that they are moving exactly with each other. So they're swinging to the left, swinging to the right, perfectly in phase with each other. So these pendula, if they were creating waves, their waves would be in phase with each other. So if the waves came in contact with each other, they would be creating constructive interference. Now we're looking at the two pendula, and now they're swinging 180 degrees out of phase with each other. So they're perfectly out of phase. So you can see that they are swinging in this, they are in opposite parts of their swing. So one's swinging to the left while the other one is swinging to the right. So if these pendula were creating waves, they were combined together, they would cancel each other out. And now here we see two pendula not in phase and not perfectly out of phase. They are out of phase, but they're not perfectly out of phase. So when one pendulum is swinging over to the right, the other one is moving towards the left, and vice versa. So they're not 180 degrees out of phase, but they're not in phase either. Okay, so let's look at constructive interference. So here in this image we have two waves in phase with each other, and they're going to combine to create a larger wave. So you can see that the waves are superimposed over each other, and they are in the same direction. So the crests are pointing in the same direction, and the troughs are pointing in the same direction. So here we see another image where the two waves have combined together to create this third red wave, which is the combination of the two waves. So this is constructive interference. The two smaller waves have added together to create this larger third wave. Now let's look at an example of destructive interference. So here in this example, these two waves are out of phase with each other. So we have two waves where we see a crest is opposing a trough of the second wave. And so that's the way they go. We have a trough and a crest and a trough, and so on. So these waves are 180 degrees out of phase. And so when we combine the two waves, you can see with this new image, we have the red wave is a subtraction of the two waves. So this is destructive interference. So the red wave is smaller than the blue wave, and it's about the same size as the purple wave, but it is in the opposite direction of the purple wave because the blue wave is a lot larger than the purple wave. So this is an example of destructive interference. And here we're looking at an animation of some waves superimposed over each other. So you can see when the waves are tilted up to the top view, you can see where the two waves are interfering with each other. You can see where they cancel each other out and where they build up on top of each other. Now here's an interesting experiment you can try yourself. So light waves interfere with each other too. So if you didn't know, light is a wave as well as a particle. So you can see dark lines caused by light waves interfering with each other when you hold your hand up to the light. So if you hold your hand up to the light, you can see between the little cracks in your fingers, you'll see little dark lines. And those dark lines are an interference pattern. You can do the same thing if you hold two pencils really close together. You'll see an interference pattern involved there as well. So you should try that out and see those dark lines. That is the light waves interfering with each other. It's pretty cool. All right, everybody, keep asking questions. It's how you learn new things.